Ayesha Curry recently did an interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast, and there has been a whole lot of discussion about what she had to say. So we're going to talk about it today, but we're going to talk a little bit about what we can learn from what she said. So I listened to the over 1 hour interview. It was very interesting, actually. She talked a lot about her life, and she started from all the way when she was 3 years old, leading up to her life now, and really what they're putting in place that will carry on, really like their legacy. Something I haven't thought a lot about was when she discussed when they got married. And she was only 22 years old when she got married, and she became a mom shortly thereafter. Now, we all know 22 is very young. That's a very, very tender age. It's still the age where you're figuring out a lot about yourself and life and identity and who you are. And to think that she did all of that under the public scrutiny of her husband's career and how quickly all of that developed for her and for them, it's a lot of context that I think is needed when you have discussions about some of the words that she shared on a podcast. So you've got the fame, you've got the marriage, you've got the motherhood, you've got the youth, just trying to figure out life, trying to figure out yourself. So her vulnerability and her honesty is very interesting. And I think it really kind of sheds light into who she has been during the different stages of her life and how she has evolved. My reaction was completely different than a lot of what I saw online. Her words didn't anger me, they didn't frustrate me. She's talking about her own life. She's not talking about someone else. She's talking about herself and how she feels in her perspective. And I think you have to have a certain level of respect for that. For me, what I heard was honesty. I heard vulnerability. She really reflected on the different parts of herself. When you're a mom, you could be a wife. You have the part of yourself who is career oriented, who works. You could have the part of yourself who's creative. You have all your different emotions. If you've ever seen the Inside Out movie where you had the characters, which were all the different emotions in the brain, and you could see how they work together, how some of them conflict, and how that drives your behavior over time, how you mature as your emotions mature. It reminded me so much of that. A lot of the quote unquote parts work that you do in therapy, where you're working on the different parts of yourself. She really broke it down, and it was very interesting. To me, it came across, and I don't know her, but just from watching the interview, as though she felt a certain burden to make sure that she was articulating that in a way that people could understand it. I also think that it's a good reminder for all of us that money does not buy happiness. You still have to do the inner work for yourself to be a balanced person and to be a whole person. And it's a process that you go through. It's not automatic. You don't check your bank account and see all this money in there and then all your problems go away. You still have to figure out life for yourself. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to discover different parts of yourself. You're allowed to strengthen different parts of yourself. That's all a part of life. It was really interesting to get to know more about her outside of what you typically see in the quick flashes and the quick headlines. She's had a really interesting life. Sometimes growth is messy, but that's where the grace comes in. God really doesn't stop shaping us after we hit some major milestone in life, after you get married, after you become famous, after you get a lot of money. We all continue to grow and evolve. We all have different trials and different challenges that we'll have to overcome as a person. That's a part of life. Sometimes you have to rediscover parts of yourself, and sometimes you might have to just be honest and say, I'm figuring me out, and that's okay. Grace grows where honesty lives. Have you ever had a season where you had to grow in ways that other people don't understand? I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below. Faith Filled Wisdom for Modern Love. Subscribe if you're ready to grow with me. Bye.